So, welcome to today's flip chart presentation on power. We will be doing PowerPoint presentation.
This is a real PowerPoint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is a challenge to do a flip chart talk and stay in my feminine. It is a challenge, got to say. So, power. You know, and wow, yeah, there's so much to say about this, and do our best to cover it all without it feeling overwhelming and chaotic. Where to begin? So, to be in integral, healthy leadership, we need to have a good and conscious relationship to our power. Yeah? If we are scared of our power, how's that going to help? Because, you know, that's going to feel terrifying. And if we're scared of our power, we're going to be scared of the power of the people who are sitting in the circle. Yeah? If we're not aware of what our relationship is to power, if we're not aware of what our wounds are around power, of the messages we were given around power, both from the perspective of our upbringing, but also culturally speaking. You know, if we look at the teachings, the collective kind of cultural teachings we've been given around power, it's basically a top-down system, yeah? It's this axis. Yeah, so you begin down here, it's a vertical axis, just saying that for the recording. You begin down here at the bottom, you know, and you're a little lowly person, you know, no power, on the poverty line, you know, go back to medieval times, you know, like you're just the nothing of the nothing. But, you know, if we bring it into modern day, you know, you start down here as the tea maker in the office, you know, and the idea is to work up to be CEO eventually. And it's a vertical axis, and you have to climb the ladder. We know this phrase. We have to climb the ladder. And that ladder is the ladder of knowledge. It's the ladder of knowledge, and it's the ladder of supremacy over the person below you, of a domination model of power. I now can tell you what to do, yeah, and I get to decide, you know, blah blah blah, what's best. I make executive decisions because you're the next rung down from me, yeah. And eventually we get to CEO, and we can just, like, you know, band it around and say and do whatever the fuck we like. And we might have a board of people up there in our CEO, but they're all sort of, the unspoken agreement is they all sort of collude in the fact that you're the one with the power, and if anyone challenges it, my God, doesn't that kick off? Yeah. So this vertical axis of power has been the model we've been with for how long? Forever. For at least 2,000 years, and then I go back to before, you know, before the Romans and Jesus and that whole sort of next sort of thing that rolled out. But even going back before that, you know, when did that system of vertical power come in? I mean, we could debate that, couldn't we? But it's been here a long time, yeah? And this, I would say, is the masculine axis. And when I speak, just to remind everyone, when I speak about the masculine, this isn't gender specific, this is the masculine energy, yeah, a polarized energy. So you've got the masculine at one end of the polarity, you've got feminine at the other end of the polarity. They're the extreme ends of the polarity, and then, of course, as we know, we've got a whole bunch of stuff in the middle. But this is a very kind of, in its kind of most polarity over one side, this is the masculine axis. Now, we've spoken really about the shadow, the wounded masculine axis. This isn't actually healthy masculine axis, what we've just talked about, yeah? Because this model, the way we've talked about it, is really already from a dysfunctional culture, yeah? It's like the whole culture's been operating in the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine, or we could say the conditioned masculine and the conditioned feminine. Yeah, we haven't really been operating from a healthy masculine model of leadership and a healthy feminine model of leadership. Yeah, so that's why we've got to start with well, what's actually really going on, and let's examine how healthy or unhealthy that is. Yeah. So, what do you think healthy masculine leadership would look like? What would be the qualities? Like, what, give us some examples of what that might look like, or where you've experienced that.
I want to say like positive enabling or containing of others and helping them to step up.
Yeah, like empowering people,
Yes.
believing in people,
Yes.
positive affirmation, all of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And if it is hierarchical, to help them to take the next position up.
Yeah, so if the person at the top here of this vertical axis was someone that we deeply trusted, we'd be happy to follow them, yeah? We'd be happy to follow them. Like if this was an indigenous elder who we knew had lived a life deeply embedded in the cyclical wisdom of life and in their ancestral land and all of that, you know, we would trust them more, yeah? I love the example of the wolves. You know how wolves choose their leader. So basically, the female wolves in the pack decide what male leader would be the best leader to lead the pack. Yeah. So the female wolves get to decide that. Yeah. And the male wolves completely accept their decision. Yeah. Now, once that male wolf is in leadership, the female wolves don't then spend their whole time going, well, you're not doing it very well, are you? And we think you should do it like this, and we should think we do it like that. And, well, I think we could do a better job. Once they have voted in who the male leader is, they completely surrender and trust the male leadership. Until a point where they feel that male leader might be out of alignment, then he gets booted out and the next one gets voted in. I mean, that's a very simplistic way of describing it, but that is basically what happens with wolves. Yeah, that's an interesting model. For me, that's what I call feminine guidance and masculine leadership. And it's a reciprocal relationship. It's, you know, there's a trust in both ways. There's a circle there. You know, the male wolves are, I'm not fucking having some bloody female wolf tell me if I'm a good enough leader. You know, it's like they respect that the female wolves, for whatever reason, are connected to something, that they have an inherent sense of who would protect the pack best, of who can take them where they need to go best. Yeah? And I believe that, you know, many, you know, however many deep time history, I mean, we found it in archaeological digs and stuff like that the women, I don't, you know, who knows, maybe the women were at the helm, you know, and that's how the whole thing got messed up and patriarchy came in because the women abused their power, who knows. But my sense is there was this sense that the women or people with wombs were inherently in touch with something about the cycles of life, about the way life works, and an inherent wisdom that lived beyond the kind of logical, rational place, yeah? And that the women with the wombs were listened to in terms of, well, are the rains coming? Where are the crops failing? Where's there disharmony in the village, in the tribe? What do we need to do to tend to that? You know, are the children well? Is our village well? And are we in right relationship with the way we're interacting with the world beyond us? Yeah. So the womb has an inherent connection to that, an inherent knowing, because the womb is a direct mirror of that. It's cyclical, so is that. It's the energy of those 4 seasons, yeah, that we talked about, the spring and the summer, and it's elemental. So the women would go, well, this is what we feel, and then there's their guidance, and they would then hand over to the masculine, to the men, to go, well, what needs to actually happen now? What do we need to put into action based on that? Yeah, we need to move the village 100 miles that way. We need to go out and, hunt for our winter animals, or we need to, whatever it might have been. The women didn't go, oh, we could do that better better, you know. Now, that's just one model, because there's plenty of places where actually the women were the ones who went out and hunted, and the women's were the one, so it's not simplistic and black and white like that, but it's to get this quality of what the feminine is bringing. Yeah, so we move it out of the gender, what the feminine is in touch with, because the feminine is inherently receptive and the masculine is inherently active. So the feminine is this way, the masculine is that way. Yeah. So if we're going to listen for what needs to happen, we need to have receptivity within our system. Yeah, we need to be able to be receptive, to be able to then go like that. And that's why there's this circle. We receive and then we deliver. We receive and then we deliver. And that's the whole thing of feminine leadership. It isn't sort of, right, I'm just going straight to that. It's like, what is it that's informing me about what I bring? Yeah. So might feel like we've gone a bit off piece, but this is all about power. This is all about power and the relationship between the masculine and the feminine in terms of power. Yeah, and it's been very distorted in our culture. It's been very, very distorted. The masculine has had supreme power. The feminine has just basically not had power. It's just annihilated. Just nothing. Yeah, just doesn't even have a place at the table. Yeah, we don't want to hear from the women. Yeah. So the feminine axis is this one. This is feminine. Now, it has been proposed that the cross is actually pointing to this, and it's actually the wheel of life. Yeah? Originally. And then, of course, it became, yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking that with my page, being like, oh, but the feminine doesn't get as long a
Yeah, interesting. Right.
They still have that cross.
Huh?
In some places in the world, they still have that.
Exactly. And if we go to the old churches in England, this cross with the circle around it. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's the basic wheel of life. It's the basic wheel of life, because, all spirituality would have been earth-based, because they were living, their life depended on living within a cyclical way, by knowing what's happening in the natural world, by listening to the seasons, because they want to know when their crops are going to work. They want to know where the water is. They want to know if they're going to freeze their asses off this winter. They want to know, all of that stuff, where the animals move, because they're dependent on the animals in order to survive. Yeah. So it's essential, this collaboration. So why wouldn't spirituality be embedded in the cosmology of life, in the actual experience of lived life, yeah? Rather than a white bearded man up in the sky who knows everything. Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, you just think, really? How did we get on board with that? And I've always considered the possibility, the Pope and the Catholic, it's like the red carpet that goes up the aisle, and he's wearing a massive yoni hat, huge vagina on the top. You gotta wonder what happened initially, and where he was going. Just saying. So, power, back to power. So, there is a way in which this vertical axis can be healthy, because this is the leadership, the arrow. It's like, I know where we're going now, and I know what we're doing, and so the top quality of that is to be trustable. Yeah, we will follow good leadership if we trust it. Yeah? If we have a sense that person isn't abusing their power.
The way I've understood it is that the sort of the unhealthy is kind of coercive, it's power through coercion,
Yeah.
And the healthy is kind of like like you've given consent, or what you described in the indigenous, or the
Yeah,
wolves, is kind of
empowerment.
like, yeah.
Yeah. So the shadow. We're going to do another picture, and we're going to write all the. But the shadow of this is control and domination. Control, domination, and hierarchy. Control, domination, hierarchy. So that's the shadow. And then in the healthy, so trustable, empowering, and leading from listening. Because really, the leaders of our world are working for us. They're meant to be taking leadership from what is needed here. Yeah? That's not happening. As we know. Let's not go there. But we start to see how power has got so utterly and completely distorted. Yeah? And how can we not all also be suffering in some way if that's literally the experience that we have from the moment we're born? Yeah? What we observe in the relationship of power. And even in how we parent, because usually because we're just stressed and under-resourced, but it's like, you do what I say, because this is the simplest and quickest way that I can manage everything I'm trying to manage and I'm not embedded in a village, and I'm not embedded in an extended family who can support me in what I'm doing. So it reverts to the most sort of difficult measures, the kind of baseline control and domination. It works, we say. It works. But at what cost? What cost? You can control and dominate the people. It's absolutely possible. You can control and dominate children. It works. They will be dominated and they will submit. We will submit when there's a powerful enough force. We've only got to look at when we're in, abusive relationships. We will submit. Yeah? Because we're afraid of power, because we haven't really been offered a way to understand and come into a relationship with our power in a conscious way. So of course we're going to fear it. Yeah? And that can go two ways. We either have a pattern and a tendency to give our power away. That's the fawning. Yeah? That's the fawn response. Or we go, right, if I'm not powerful, I'm going to get annihilated. Both of it comes from the same place. If I'm not powerful, I'm going to get annihilated, so I'm going to kill before I'm killed. Yeah? I'm going to control before I'm controlled. Yeah? That's the basic model. So then, if you take that into sexuality, you start to see the whole, sub-dom relationship and how it kind of works for both people depending on what their relationship is to power. And that can, if done in a conscious way, be really powerful, potent healing way to work with the wound that we have around power. If we can do that consciously and understand why we want to submit and work with that consciously, we can move through something and claim our power back through that, because of course sexual energy is such a powerful healing modality. Yeah. But anyway, coming back to this. So, what else to say about this axis? Yeah, let's throw it out to the floor a bit. What do you notice about unhealthy power in this way? What do you notice? Anything else we want to add to this list?
Manipulation.
Huh?
Manipulation.
I'm going to come to that. That's more a shadow feminine quality in manipulation, because it's kind of,
Bit more.
it's covert, and the shadow of power in the shadow masculine is much more overt and dominating, and you know, it's like a forceful energy.
Yeah, I was going to say forceful.
Yeah.
It feels.
It's a forceful energy, and it's working on this principle of I am above you and you are below me.
This
You
was,
know.
Demeaning, putting down.
Yeah, so shaming. Yeah, shaming.
Gaslighting.
Huh?
Gaslighting.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put gaslighting there. That's we'll come to that.
I
It's
suppose
important, but-
undermining.
Yeah, undermining, which is another kind of way of shaming, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
What
It's
about
like
sorry.
Humiliating, you could say. That would be a kind of That would be a kind of a version of shaming.
Entitlement and privilege.
Thank you. And got to get that in there. Entitlement
Oh yeah.
and privilege. Yeah.
And it's so secret often.
Huh?
It's secret often. Like
Yeah. No, we're not going to talk about that. It's just implicit in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just implicit. Well, you say it's like it's a bad thing to be up here. Like, what's the problem? You know, I've earned my way. I've earned my way up here.
Yeah.
I've earned my way through all these dodgy methods.
Yeah. No one's helped inherited.
I'm a shining example of these methods.
Sounds like you described my old boss. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
This can also show up in the feminine as well.
Huh?
This can also show up in the in feminine leadership as well. You know, not a conscious one.
No.
But
What
you-
are you trying to say?
So I had a female boss.
Ah, but that's different. No, you're
That
saying this can
she was
show up
very much
in women.
in women.
Yeah,
Exactly.
thank you. Okay.
You're not
So
so-
that's
yeah,
what I'm
women.
saying. This is not about men. This is about the masculine shadow. Yeah? Now, if we're working within the mainstream world of leadership, it's an absolute suicide mission to try to do that from the feminine. And so we end up, as women, going into the masculine, because otherwise we won't achieve anything on this vertical axis. Yeah? Just pointless, you know. Yeah? Feel impotent in it. So we end up reverting to that. Yeah? Okay, so what else, what other qualities are there in the healthy masculine leadership?
With advocacy.
Hmm? Advocacy. Don't know how you spell that.
I don't
Particularly
either.
bad today.
I wanted to say something about the shadow, which then might have
Yeah,
an
yeah.
equivalent. So is there something? I feel like it's like something about really believing that I'm right and that I know the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the-
I'm right. Well, I'm the authority, aren't
Yeah.
I?
And so on the healthy, I sort of feel like there's an open-mindedness, a humility, or something that is the equivalent of that. But I don't know what the word would
Well,
be.
one word was coming to me was about being inspirational. It's leading by inspiring, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
You mean there's a humility there as well?
It's like a gracious.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
humility,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Not in a kind of, yeah.
In a
Not
healthy,
the I
positive
know.
way.
It's like
Yeah.
I've got some wisdom here.
Yeah.
But okay, so here's the way I would say it. You know, if I'm in this, my need to impart my wisdom to you is greater than your need to receive it. Yeah? That is just absolutely
Very good.
what it sums up. Because if you're in the healthy masculine, it's like, what is needed here? What wisdom is needed here? And how can I be in service to that? Yeah? In service to wisdom.
I've been on the receiving end of being pinned in a corner, being talked at.
Yeah, let me tell you about how it is, you know. Now, just to be clear, I want to make a subtle distinction between us bringing our passion, because that could be twisted and looked at, oh, I need to tell you what I believe in. But of course we can bring our passion. But it's when the need, that need is more, and you can feel that the person's just not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah? And you're just sitting there feeling like you're just being fired at with a machine gun. And you're supposed to go, wow, you're amazing. Oh, thank you so much. Wow. Yeah? Because underneath, what sits underneath that? Their need. to show and prove how wise and intelligent and powerful they are, what sits underneath that?
The little one. That's in
Yeah, the little one who feels completely powerless, probably. Yeah? That is probably exactly who sits there. Yeah. You know, you think about even the highest world leaders, like say Donald Trump, for example. You know, like, he's probably not in touch with it consciously, but, you know, what is the paradigm of his little one? You know? When, you know, and you know, we've all got a little one. All the world leaders, we've all got a little one. And when that little one, when the protector is then given unboundaried space to play with power, what happens? Yeah. So for me, any healthy masculine leadership, the fundamental most important ingredients,
The wounds and
self-awareness. Self-awareness. Without this, it's dangerous. It's just dangerous because you're going to project everything, all your internal unresolved landscape, you're going to project that out into the world and misuse your power. Yeah? How many world leaders do we know that you know, have done self-development, inner work, meditation, consciousness work, talk about their little one, holding the understanding of the protector? I mean, they might have different language and maps or whatever, but, you know, it's just not happening.
it's hard work though. Even I think people who do really try to
It
get
is
to
hard
the
work.
depths of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's like, I'm always catching that. Oh, that's the little selfish bit of me that wants to, or the bit that wants to be big and seen as being, you know, it's like there's a constant.
But it's not that you have to never lead from the shadow, but it's having the awareness that that's what's going on. You know, I don't sit here as a facilitator going, well, I can only be a facilitator because I've dealt with all my wounds and all my triggers and all my conditioned behaviour. Not at all. It's all still kicking off all over the place. But I've got some awareness of it at least, that I can maybe go, oh, wait a minute, oh, what happened there? You know, or I've got my little team around me and go, Jules, yeah, wasn't okay. Oh, fuck, yeah, right, okay. You know, that kind of stuff. So it's not that our world leaders need to be sorted.
It's intention, isn't it?
It's intention. It's back to the humility. Yeah, it's back to the humility to recognise that I'm an imperfect human being and that I've got wounds, even though I'm in this position of power. That does not mean I'm inherently safe because I'm in the leadership position. Doesn't mean I won't have a shadow. Yeah?
Yeah.
This is really, really, really important. Yeah? You know, if we go back to the model of Indigenous elders, you know, they will have earned. It's like you don't become an elder because you're old. You become an elder because people start to seek out, because they can feel your gravitas. Yeah, and if we look at that in the feminine model, that's because I've consciously bled for 25 years and I've sat in the lodge with the elders and I've done my inner work and I've gone to death and I've rebirthed myself countless times. Yeah, and I'm embedded in a community that keeps mirroring back to me where I'm out of alignment with my power, with myself, with my authority, with my wisdom, with my whatever it is. Yeah. If we don't have that, and we don't because we all live in these little isolated units, you know, trying to work out who we are through social media and TV. Yeah. It's not you know, it's not that helpful. Huh? You know. Okay. So what about this axis? Feminine leadership. What are the qualities? What are the healthy? And what's the shadow? Well, one we already talked about, which was manipulation. Yeah, that would be a shadow of feminine leadership. It's manipulation. Because manipulation is quite sort of, it's anything that's sort of a little bit around the side, a little bit underground, a little bit kind of coercive, whereas the masculine is like, I'm just going to fire my arrow, boom, in plain sight for you to see. Yeah? Whereas the feminine, it's all sort of a little bit like that.
Is that also about competition then? Is that shadow feminine?
No, competition sits right bang in, right bang here, because what's this? This is competition.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a potent map of competition. And I've got to keep winning, keep winning, keep winning, keep winning, keep winning. And that means someone has to keep losing in order for me to keep winning.
Yeah.
Yeah? Whereas the feminine axis is basically this horizontal axis, and it's the entire web of life. Yeah? So even as we sit here in the circle, we're not working on a model of, oh, you know, I've got more knowledge or wisdom, or Tracy has, or Layla has. It's like we're all bringing a part of the whole. Yeah, we're all bringing a part of the whole, and that's the point. No one person here is better or more powerful or has more wisdom. We understand that no one of us can have it all. You know, whereas up here, this CEO has it all, yeah? Has the ultimate knowledge and you know, blah, blah, blah. But here, it's like, no. And we've seen that. I mean, I've seen that countless times over 25 years of running women's work. You know, the wisdom that is in the circle, the power that is in the circle by the sum, the parts, the whole being more than the sum of the parts.
So is comparison then, would that be in the shadow feminine? So comparing.
I still think that lives, I think all of that is in the masculine, yeah.
So it's comparing.
Because the tree doesn't go, well, I think I'm a better tree than you.
Yeah.
You know, the rabbit doesn't go, I think I'm a better rabbit than you.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm the rabbit I am.
yeah.
You're the rabbit you are. How do we relate? You know,
Yeah, so
and there might be, you know, there might be in the animal pecking order. Of course, there is. There's sort of survival of the species, and humans now at the top of the chain and eating everything below. Blah blah blah. But you know, even in the animal world, of course, there's natural sort of. Well, I know that you're an animal to prey, and I'm going to kill you, and da 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 da. But there isn't this human wound of disconnect that means that we have to do that just purely for the basis of harm rather than from an instinctual place of survival. Yeah, which comes back to really in a way what you're talking about. It's like, do we need to do this, or are we just doing it because we can, you know? Yeah.
An aspect of our domination.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's like the evolution of our species has been marked by what can we control and dominate in the more than human world. In the natural world, what can we control and dominate? And if there's a threat to our life, we will either control it or dominate it, or kill it or mutilate it in some way.
So is healthy then dominion? To
What-
live with, to work with?
Yeah. Well, I would say collaboration. Yeah. My spelling is terrible today. I'm really sorry for anyone who finds that uncomfortable. for the what do you call it? The typo, you know, typo twerps.
Yeah, really sorry.
Yeah, collaboration. That is the whole point of this. This is collaboration. You know, nature has to collaborate in order for it to work. Nothing is living in isolation. There is nothing in this world, in this planet, in the cosmos that isn't being affected. Everything is being affected by everything. And I know that's just like a sort of trite thing that we all sort of roll out in the spiritual movement, but it's true. It's really, really true. You know, nothing lives in a vacuum. Yeah? And that is, because everything in creation is the feminine, everything manifest physical is the feminine. Yeah? The masculine is just consciousness. Yeah? Which is the one.
Wow.
Yeah? Consciousness is the one. Yeah? One consciousness moving through everything. Whereas the feminine is the endless, the multiple of everything couldn't be more opposite to one. Yeah? It's like a billion, squillion, billion, trillion, squillion, gazillion. Yeah? It's the whole huge diversity of life. And you can see the marriage now, the beautiful unification between those two polarities. Yeah? And of course, that whole spectrum of everything in between, it's not that these are the only two, but we're talking about the two most potent polarities and then everything that can happen in between that. Yeah? So collaboration is like absolutely where the power, where healthy power sits with feminine leadership is in collaboration. You know, I could not run this training without Nicole, Tracy and Gay. This is just impossible. You know, I'd have to go into a level of control, wouldn't I? And it would probably be quite arsey. I'd be like, guys, the washing up, what about the washing up? Oh, and who's getting, no one's got the food yet, and well, what about the fire? And you're all leaving everything in a mess, and oh, wait a minute, oh God, I'm running the next session as well, and the one after that, oh, hang on, you know? It's too much. It's too much, yeah? So collaboration. And so in order to collaborate, what's the quality that we need? What are the qualities that we need to be able to collaborate?
Communication.
Relationship.
Yeah, we need to be relational.
Trust.
Receptivity.
Yeah, we need to trust. We need to trust something more than the separate sense of I. Yeah? It's like we need to trust something that's beyond us. Yeah? Trust in, what could we say that? In, you know, we could say trust in the cosmos shorthand. But, you know, we're trusting in what we sense and feel and read in the space, and we're responding. Yeah?
Kind of intuition that comes with it.
Intuition.
Attunement.
Yeah. Intuition. Yeah. You know, it's like I might have an idea of what I want to do with you today. You know, and I might make a few notes and sort of be like, yeah, I know we want to look at power. And it's like, oh, I know I'd love to do this afternoon with them if they... But the sentence that comes straight after that is if they're in a space to do it. Yeah? I know what I want to do with you this afternoon if you're in a space to do it. But I won't know that until we get there. You know, whereas this model would be, well, that's on the programme for Friday afternoon at 2:00, and by hell or high water, that's what we're going to do. And they need to fit themselves inside my agenda. Yeah? Because that's what we're doing at 2:00. So it is much more terrifying to lead from the feminine, because the part of us that's feeling really panicked and like, oh my God, but I got my music list and I got my thing and what, step into the empty space, Totally. I mean, when I first started running courses, I planned everything so there wasn't even really a space to go to the loo. Because I thought that if anyone went to the loo, they would leave and not come back. That's how insecure I was. That's how much I just didn't trust or couldn't trust that people were actually getting anything from it. So I just literally, and I was really good at it. I honed the skill of like seduction and manipulation so well that it was so enticing for them to be in the room. They just didn't want to go to the loo. That was the basic philosophy. Make it so delicious what's happening in this moment that you don't want to go to the loo. Yeah. And probably as well in the shadows, a sort of an unspoken message that I put out really strongly without saying a word. It's not okay to go to the loo. Yeah. There'll be trouble. And I used to really think, and I used to have this reoccurring dream that everyone would come into the room and arrive for a workshop, and I'd turn my back to, like, I don't know, look at my notes or turn some music on or something, and I'd turn around and everyone had left. That was the reoccurring dream. Nightmare. Yeah, I just didn't believe for a moment that anyone was interested in what I had to offer. And I was even a bit baffled as to why they were in the room. And they were probably only there because I had somehow manipulated or seduced them to be there. Or they were there by mistake, you know, sort of because they thought it was something else. Yeah, that's how it was at the beginning. Did I tell you the story about my mum coming to the workshop? Yeah. So that, you know, in a way, all of those people were my mum. Yeah, and I was just absolutely expecting them to, like, do exactly what I'd experienced, my mum and my dad, in a way, you know, both of them. Yeah?
I have a classic, which was really, I didn't know that it was a masculine feminine, and I'm listening to you going, oh. And it was this one retreat that for the first time I did it with a girlfriend, and she is the most unstructured, feminine. Now I know.
But was
feminine.
there chaos?
She's completely chaotic. and
Yeah, well, you
she
see, that
had
sits
this-
in the shadow.
She had this. She had this. She was going to run a section. She was going to run a section, and I was like, "Oh, can I just?" And I said, "Have you organised it?" And she was like, "No, it'll just come." And I'm like, "No, really?" And she said, "Yeah, you'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I was like, "No, oh my!" And I was like this.
So you were in your shadow masculine.
Yeah, totally. And I was like rigid, going, "Just let it go. Just let it go."
She
let
was
it
in
go."
her shadow feminine.
And it was so funny because what she did is she started to lead this practice, which was like, oh, so what I want you to do is to think of your most, your happiest place. So all the way we were doing it, and then she just started laughing, but like hysterically laughing because she was in her happy place, and I was like going, I don't even know what you're doing, and I don't know what to do at this point, and I just remember being horrified, and she was going, "Oh, you're going to have to take over. I can't." And I'm like,
Oh my god! Oh, that is
it was.
extreme.
I will never forget it because I was just like, "What? What? I don't even know what you're doing. You didn't tell me what you're doing." And it was just like this, I mean, that was
So funny.
the most.
So that's when
Yes.
the wound of abandonment played out in the space, because she basically abandoned herself, and then obviously abandoned everyone, and then just went, right, well, you've got to sort it out.
Yeah.
Ah, so that's a kind of deferring power, or like.
Well, I'd say it's more than that. Like, she literally did not take responsibility for what she was holding, you know,
That's
and went into her own, like,
it's
world.
appalling.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the opposite of collaboration, isn't it?
That is
Like,
not
absolutely
collaboration
the
at all.
That's
That
not-
is abdication. You can say there's abdication in there.
I thought I was being just really stiff because I was like, really, did you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
do
yeah,
that?
yeah.
I mean, eventually, but I mean, luckily.
So what I'm
everybody
hearing
started
in that
laughing, but
is
it wasn't.
your feminine had an intuitive sense that something wasn't okay. Now, your masculine controller might have been in there too,
Yeah.
but you were like, I'm not feeling this, because another woman might have come in and said, I've got no notes, but really it's okay, and you'd have felt like, yeah, I totally know she'll be fine. It's like, I can feel her. I can feel her gravitas. I can feel her whatever. Yeah, but you had a really deep intuitive knowing from your feminine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does come down to that trust, which is what you were saying. It's that really
Yeah.
trusting
Yeah.
that. And that's, I guess, the communication comes in the communication that you have with whoever
Yeah.
that then puts
Yeah.
a level of trust in.
Yeah.
Because you've made an agreement of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if I look at me and Mark, the way we facilitate, it's like, basically, you know, he wants the whole programme written out so he knows where he is, because, of course, otherwise he's like, oh, yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, all I need you to do is be present. That's all I want you to do, is be present. Yeah? That's what you're bringing. You know, I'm going to be like, following this, I'm going to change everything we're doing every 5 minutes. And that is it. And it doesn't mean he won't contribute. Doesn't mean he might not come in and say some stuff, or, you know, talk to one of the men, or, you know, in the couples work or whatever. But he just needs to be the container. And then I flow within the container, and he knows that now. And he does. He just makes the container. He doesn't keep going, well, what are you doing now? Why are you doing that? What's going on? Wait a minute, what are we doing? I thought you said we were going to... Yeah? He's like, don't know what she's doing. I'm not entirely sure what she's doing, but I trust that she knows what she's doing. Yeah? And that she's following something that I can't necessarily feel, but I do trust her capacity to follow and read and intuit energy. And it took a while for us to get there. You know, at first he was like, I want to know what you're doing, why you're doing it. You know. And of course he was like, well, presence, that's not a thing, that's not a contribution. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea what a thing is. You know. Yeah, I said the men will feel it when we're working with heterosexual couples. It's like the men will feel boom, you're there. It's like Tracy, in a way, is holding the presence for me in a lot of ways. She's just there. I know I can go, could you quickly go and sort the kettle out, you know, or get me a thing, or it's like she's just holding space. She's not saying a lot, you know, and she's not going, well, hang on a minute, I want to say, you know. Yeah, which would be two masculines kind of need to sort of be the ones who know. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Because you can have two women seemingly collaborating, but actually they're in a total sort of, they're in this axis going, oh, I want to lead this session because I know about this. Well, yeah, but I... And, you know, an example of this is when you're in a circle and someone shares something and everybody wants to chip in with their wisdom or their guidance. And it's not that any one person isn't probably got something really good to bring, but their need to bring it is greater than the woman's capacity to receive it. So the woman's sitting there just swimming in all this like beautiful wisdom that's coming her way, but the skill to sense what is she capable of receiving right now, what can she manage right now. She's already in saturation, even though the thing I've got to say is just going to be the thing, it's the best thing, you know, I know she'll really it'll help her, you know. It's like, well, she's already up to here. Yeah, and that is one of the downsides. That's, you know, that is one of the downsides of a peer group, is if you don't have clarity about how you share and how you give reflection, it turns into the shadow masculine of everybody needing, you know, my need to help you is greater than your need to be helped right now. Yeah? Yeah. Well, that's what my mum basically, yeah, anyway. That's what I learned from her.
Like vision needs to go on there.
Huh?
Vision, or like clarity of vision.
Say more?
Well, when you were talking about you guiding, or maybe it's guided, Mark, like, I just need your presence. Like, if you didn't have that clarity of what your needs are, you wouldn't be able to speak that, and you wouldn't be able to support him to hold that space.
So being in touch with my needs?
Yeah.
Do you mean?
Insight.
Knowing,
Is that the same?
knowing what
or
needs,
not?
knowing yourself, I guess. Yeah.
Self-awareness.
Yeah. So maybe it's self-awareness. But
I'm
being
wondering
able
if
to
it's something
see
about,
what is needed.
well, it's recognising that I can't be all things,
Mm-hmm.
and that you know, when we're working with couples, the space is far more potent when a Mark is there, because I don't have to be in my masculine as well so much. I mean, I still do to some degree, but he's going, okay, well, I'll take that bit, and now you can just be in your flow. Yeah. So there is some. I think that's maybe what you pointed to, and I'm aware. It's like if I was in the shadow masculine, it's like, I'll be both. It's okay. I got it all. I'll do it all. But it's like, no, I can relinquish that. So I am trusting. It's back to the trust. You know, I'm trusting that he can hold that, and I can let go a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Is there something else about vision as well in the feminine, that we have this diffuse big awareness and attention, so we can look at big picture, masculine comes in and focuses?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because I have heard equally some people talking about the masculine, you know, because we could say if the masculine is the sun, it's literally shining on everything. It's got that vast kind of right out there, the witness as far back as you can, big and as high as you can possibly go, that can see the whole thing. And the feminine is right inside going, oh yeah, but like, what about this? You know, she's right inside the juice of life. Yeah?
I've just seen it a lot in, like, you know, heterosexual relationships where the woman is like, look at all the parts of this and where are we going in the future? And the man is
I
like,
think
"I've gotta
that's
fix
more
the
about the
car."
longing. I think that's more about the longing. That we have, like, because the womb is basically holding that whole kind of experience of everything, and she can feel, the, you know, the juice of it all. Yeah. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm sort of jury's out for me about whether that sits in the masculine or the feminine, and it's an interesting one. It's a really interesting one. I mean, we could say that the quality of the masculine is to be single-focused, Like, you know, the feminine is better at kind of having a finger in lots of different pies.
Seeing how all the parts fit together.
How that's the interconnected way.
Yeah.
Seeing how all the parts fit together. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
But are you saying, Jules, that the character is that the male is actually, the masculine is like a wider view?
Well, the masculine is presence and consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why the sun is often called the masculine. Yeah, because it's just got that shining on everything. It's like we can only see the moon shining because the sun shines on it. Yeah, only because of that. We can't see the moon inherently. It's because of the light of the masculine that the feminine is brought into light.
Okay.
Yeah.
The feminine is more in the detail.
Yeah, in the kind of, not in the detail, but just like you were saying, like the web of life, the interconnectedness and the all of this creation. Yeah. Okay, so back to these lists. So healthy feminine, collaboration, relational, trusting in the cosmos, something that goes beyond ourselves, that womb wisdom, we could say, intuition, bringing longing is a powerful form of leadership, all parts are interconnected. So in terms of power, which is what we're looking at, it's power with. Now, power with can also be in the healthy masculine. Yeah? So I want to just say that. It's not that the feminine gets to hold the domain on power with. It's like what we're looking at in all of this is power with. Whether that's power between the masculine and the feminine, whether that's power on the vertical axis, the horizontal axis, the collaboration, in whatever way we want, whatever direction we want to look at that, we're looking at a model of power with. So that the CEO at the top completely respects the janitor. And know, you know, and has respect, because it's like, for me to walk into this office in the morning and do the responsibility, to hold the responsibility that I have, because I've got a huge responsibility here to take care of all the people who sit in all the different roles. I've got deep respect for the janitor, because the office doesn't look like a teenager's sleepover. You know, it's the model of the fire tenders and the fire keepers. Yeah, some of us are the fire walkers and the fire keepers. So some of us are fire walkers. I'm a fire walker. You know, it's like we're just the ones right out there, kind of, you know, burning our feet, trying to kind of bring edgy stuff and da-da. But I couldn't be a fire walker without fire tenders, because there'd be no fire otherwise. You know, like literally they're tending the fire and making sure that it's just right. Yeah, and in this instant, Tracy, Gay and Nicole are my fire keepers. Yeah. Now they may also be fire walkers in other places in their lives. Yeah. Well, Tracy's definitely been a fire walker in your entire career.
I'm enjoying being a keeper now.
Yeah, you're enjoying being a keeper. But if you are really a fire walker and you're giving away your power and being a fire keeper, you will resent fire walkers and you will jostle all the time for position. Yeah. Like I've seen that a lot, and it's, you know, and it's happened here in the feminine leadership training. Like a woman will say, I really, really want to assist you next year, and actually she needs to step up to more than that, but she's got the wound around power, and then she spent her whole time like challenging and questioning everything in the space. Well, I wouldn't do it that way, I'd do it this way. And it's like, yeah, it's because it's like when the feminine is kind of like, she's not fully owning her power, but then it kind of comes in as trying to kind of challenge and undermine, yeah, which goes into the shadow masculine as a behaviour, yeah. But the wound around our power is just monumental as the feminine principle, and in the bodies of women. And I do want to bring that in. It's like in the bodies of women, we have been utterly and completely just ashes, pile of ashes. You know, we have not been even allowed to talk about the word power, to even say the word power, really, to even say it.
And I have I've noticed that I've got a real resistance to the word. Even it just feels really...
It's dangerous.
Yeah, and so whenever we talk about power, it just makes me go, oh, I'm kind of searching for another word to represent power, because the word, because of the shadow.
Because the word has only ever really been used for the last few thousand years in this vertical access. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, and that's what I want, you know, so it's almost like I have to start actually changing my relationship just with the word.
To the word, yeah.
Because
Exactly.
it's that.
Exactly. And I don't want to throw the word away,
No.
but it's about understanding and reframing and coming into a
Yeah.
different relationship with our power. And when we've done that, the word won't hold such a charge.
Yeah, and I really hear that. I really hear
Yeah.
that.
That's why I like the word cunt, because I want to reclaim that word, because actually it was the original word of these lands for female vagina, but it got taken over by the patriarchy and then used as a derogatory term. And actually, its original meaning is source of the river. It's a spring, wellspring of the river. It's and if you and old maps, wherever there's a spring, it's got the word cunt.
Love that.
Yeah. So that's in the sort of Celtic traditions and that kind of thing. So that's why it's important that we reclaim these words rather than throw them away, because something gets lost in the throwing of them away rather than bringing them back to,
I'm wondering about the spectrum from negative masculine to negative feminine about decision making. So in the negative shadow masculine, there's a detachment and a theoretical way of making decisions which doesn't take on board people. And in the negative feminine, it seems like there's an overwhelm where you take on everyone and you can't make a decision that's best for the whole.
Yeah. So shadow feminine, it's like over caring of everyone's feelings. It's being responsible, feeling responsible for everyone's needs, for all needs. Yeah, all needs and feelings.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the most debilitating things that happens when we're holding circle, is we get into a right old pickle because we can feel all the different needs in the circle and we get into trying to meet every single one, which is a completely impossible task. Yeah. But
the field. Like,
but if you're the kind of woman who leads from that place, you will unconsciously give this message: I'm here to meet your need. I'm here. I want to meet your need. I'm the mother, and I'm gonna, you know, it's like it's the mother energy. I'm gonna meet your need. I'm gonna meet your need. I'm gonna meet your need. So everyone's like, oh, great, I can feel she wants to meet my need. Oh, this is so lovely. And so we all sort of fall into the arms of the mother. But then it's like you've got to work really hard to like remember every single woman, what it is she needs, tune into her in the moment, and then you start to realise, well, hang on a minute, you need to. Yeah, but if I give you that need, she's going to be really pissed off because she's got the opposite need. Right? Okay, so, well, maybe if I try and, but she was like, it's going to exhaust you. Yeah.
And it's impossible,
It's possible. It's possible. So yeah, so the shadow mother, we could say. Yeah, the shadow mothering, not helpful, say the least.
Yeah, there's something around saving. for me.
Rescue,
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
rescue.
yeah.
Yeah. Rescuing. Yep. Yeah, we start rescuing. So what does power look like in the healthy feminine in terms of leadership? What are the qualities? Is there any more we want to add here?
Embodied. Embodied.
Embodied, yep. Beautiful. So leading from the body. Literally listening and leading from the body. Yeah.
self-affirming.
Huh?
Self-affirming. So you're talking about your passion, your longing, like being on your own team around that.
Unapologetic.
Say a bit more what you mean. I'm trying to get inside the feeling of it.
Well, I just think as women we've been taught to doubt our own
So you mean it's like self-belief?
self-belief, maybe.
Self-belief.
Then. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of how, because that self-belief could come into the masculine or the feminine in leadership. So what does it particularly look like in the feminine?
The transmission.
Beautiful. It's a transmission. And maybe not even words. Yeah? This is why I keep encouraging you to find ways to transmit yourself without the words, because, yeah, it is literally a transmission of energy. I'm going to embody what I feel, what I believe, my wisdom. And if we were like deeply in our feminine, wouldn't it be amazing that we could just literally convey that just by sitting and being with you? And I'm sure we've all had that experience when we go to see a practitioner or a healer and they've just got this quality and they're working with your body and your mind's not even involved. Yeah, but to do that in a group way, that's quite a thing. Yeah. So what else?
Is there something around wisdom? Oh, I'm thinking about the knowledge, wisdom sort of thing, like with the masculine, it's kind of knowledge, which I think, it's a healthy thing.
Wisdom.
And then,
Yeah.
And
So-
like experience.
So we're kind of going a little bit into the map we did last time, if you remember, with masculine, feminine leadership. So I want to kind of keep it focused on power. What are the ways power are expressed in a healthy way in the feminine?
And boundary, being able to hold the boundaries as well in yourself, as well as the boundaries of what you're
I mean, when you say the word boundaries, I come back
to masculine.
But it sounds like you're saying knowing your limitations, not merging. So here, you're merging. But let's keep it with power. So what does powerful feminine, how do we experience the powerful feminine?
Resourced, but
Huh?
I want to say resourced, but in a way what's coming into my head is that we give our power away all the time. It's about collecting that power, but I don't know what that holding our power
Where do we get our power from?
from our womb, from
Where?
well,
Okay.
from everything.
There we are.
Okay.
So we get our power from life.
Life.
Yeah? Could say.
It's sort of like abundance. There's an abundance in a feminine
Yeah.
leader.
Yeah. Like a
A
fullness.
fullness,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fuller we are,
Yeah.
the less someone can take something from us.
Yeah.
Yeah? If we're empty, then we're a bit vulnerable to being filled with something we don't want.
Yeah.
But if we're already full and connected and we've got that umbilical taproot just boom straight into the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful, huh?
Yeah, when we're not, there's not the distraction of, like how you were saying at the beginning, you've got some big things going on.
Yeah.
And so there's that, and it's naming it, there's okay, I understand where you're at, and
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
and so that's also the fullness of a leader, because you're
Yeah,
sharing.
because I'm not hiding parts and going,
Exactly.
yes, I'm just a CEO and I'm an expert in this field. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's an empowerment in being vulnerable. So there's a power in our vulnerability. Yeah? Yeah, that we don't have to be polished and exiling certain parts of ourselves. We bring all of it in. Yeah. Yeah, coming back to the womb thing, Mark sometimes says, he says, I'll say something like, I don't know, I just feel it. And he's, oh, you're pulling the womb card again. Can't argue with the womb card. But I have to be careful not to abuse that, because it's like, anything. I could just go, well, my womb says. But yeah, and then we would be in the shadow side here, wouldn't we? So, let's encapsulate what feminine leadership, what the relationship is to power in terms of being in feminine leadership. Yeah? So it's collaboration, being relational, trusting in something that is beyond our intellectual intelligence. Yeah, it's like it's a receptivity. It's receiving something and letting ourselves be filled with the power of creation, if you like, and being a vessel for that to be somehow communicated. Yeah. And in the shadow, manipulation, chaos, abandonment, overcaring, mothering, rescuing, merging, Yeah, defaulting to others to know. Yeah. Defaulting to others to know.
What about collapse and victimhood?
Collapse, yeah. We're back in the qualities again. It's hard not to go there, but I just to really focus on, on the power bit.
But I think I brought this last time, the power under, which I think kind of is the power through weakness, being the victim kind of, and then being able to coerce.
So giving away our power or taking power.
Yeah.
Do you mean?
Well, if we understand power as being able to have influence, and power over is like coercive, there is also a coercive, but that's through domination. There's also if I'm the victim, I can coerce you all because you're scared that I might,
So the victim has the power. That's the shadow feminine.
Exactly. So I just wanted to.
Beautiful.
frame
Yeah.
it how
Yeah.
under-
Yeah. So that, in a way, that's the manipulation, isn't it? Yeah. The victim has the power. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So when it comes to sort of holding space, whether that's, parenting or at work or just with our friends or with actually running spaces and so on, can you start to see the different ways in which you've moved through all of these? You will have moved through all of these all the time, but there'll be ones that you specifically are your go-tos. Yeah? And for a lot of women, it'll primarily being, defaulting to others. What do I know? Nobody wants to hear what I've got to say. Nobody's interested in coming and exploring my gift. I'm not even sure if I've got a gift. Others have got a better gift than me. Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. That's how we give our power away. Yeah, it's because we've lost that taproot into the earth, into the cosmos, that we go, no, there's something that's coming through my body, my womb, my heart, my longing, that can only come through me. There is no other tree on this planet that is this one. There just isn't. There isn't, and so in that way we could almost say there's like a responsibility to bring that through, because nobody else can bring through what's coming through you. And there will be different ways in which you bring stuff through that will resonate more or less with other people. You guys obviously to some degree resonate with my particular way that I bring stuff through. Yeah. Now, there's a whole bunch of people out there who don't resonate with that. That's why they're not here. Yeah. But there'll be another woman somewhere where they're going, oh God, I totally resonate with how it comes through her. Yeah. And so it's not that there's a better or a worse. There's just the resonant frequency. Yeah. And that's the quality of the feminine. What's the resonant frequency? Does that make sense? And we have to follow that frequency, and that's a different way of talking. That's not competition, because competition lives in that vertical axis. This is about diversity. Yeah, there's the diversity of how things come through me and come through you and you and you and you and you. And that's why I'm really wanting to encourage you to find what comes through you and how it comes through you, because no one else can do that except you. Yeah. And there will be resonance, and the idea that I've got to be like so-and-so because no one will come to my group and they'll all go to her group, that comes from this whole paradigm of lack. This whole paradigm of there isn't diversity, there isn't abundance, there isn't fullness. But I absolutely know if you are full and you drop deeply into your power, into your trust, into your knowing of what's coming through you, it will be like bees to honey. It just will. But the more sort of fake we are, or trying, or kind of trying to be it's like people feel it on a really subtle level. They just feel it. We're not trustworthy. We're not like that alignment. Like when you were standing there yesterday in the dance sessions, it's like we can feel when you're just totally in the alignment, and we're like, yeah, that. There's a moment where everything wakes up. Yeah. And that's what we're looking for. And you could be talking about banana farming. It doesn't matter. Yeah? Banana farming's your passion. Then... Let me just check my notes. Was anything else I wanted to explore? Yeah, I think the other thing is about, you know, the little one's relationship to power, the protector's relationship to power, and the whole woman's relationship to power. Yeah, those are the three layers, and all of them will be holding space. They're all in the mix. Yeah, but who's doing what? You know, and this is why the little one, the sacred wound work is so important, because the more we're holding our little ones, our wounded little ones, the more available our woman can come online and go, right, I'm holding space. Yeah? It's absolutely fundamental, because if we're not holding our little ones, they will completely hijack and sabotage us bringing our gifts to the world, because their voice is like, no fucking way. Yeah? You've got to be joking. I'll be shamed, I'll be wronged, I'll be killed, I'll be, you know, blah, 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 rejected, abandoned, and so on. That's why we do it on the first module, because it is the baseline of everything, because she feels fundamentally like she has no power at all. And to try in any way to be in power is a complete suicide mission. Yeah? So then we learn those adoptive strategies: fawn, fight, flight, control, submit, all of those. And those styles will come into how we then bring our power in how we hold space. You know, it's like if my protector style is fight, I'm going to probably, like I was telling when I was first running spaces years ago, I would just control down to the max, because that was my MO. Yeah, but if you're a fawner, you're probably going to try and meet everybody's needs and feel completely overwhelmed. Yeah? So that will always be there. I mean, I'm always going to be a bit controlling in some way or another in my style of facilitation. It's like I just accept that. Hopefully it gets less and less and less as the years go by, and the more I trust and the more I relax and the more I can feel full, the less I will need to do it. Yeah? If you're a fawner, the more you trust and the more full you feel and the deeper in yourself you'll be, the less you'll need to do that and trust that everyone can be full without you filling them up, you know, for example. Yeah? So it's not like, right, I've got to make sure that I've got none of my protectors in the mix. It's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. Yeah? But what we can do is have a more conscious relationship to our power, of really seeing, where does my power sit? How do I give it away? How do I abuse it? Yeah? And not to beat ourselves up about it, but to understand why, because there'll always be the little one behind that as a coping strategy. Yeah? If I think everyone's going to leave the room, right, well, I'm going to control it. You know, if I think everyone's going to leave the room from a fauna, well, I better love them more. I better give them more. I better, you know, what else do you need to stay? Yeah. So lots of different ways that we can go about that. But it's all about our relationship to power.
And there's something about when you do that, and you do give them that, then they become reliant on you and have that.
That's the shadow of using the mother to
and
hold
then
space.
Yeah, and then they just,
yeah,
you know.
Totally. And I mean, I don't know about others, but when I've gone to teachers who've got that energy, I mean, I want to be the special one. I wanted to notice me more than anyone else, and any time she references me, I'm like, oh, I'm a bit closer to the bosom, you know, I'm a bit closer to the milk, you know, and it's so painful then, because if she turns her focus somewhere else, I'm like, you know, I'm back in the abandonment. I've been flung out of the holding arms of the mother's gaze. It's like that longing for the mother's gaze and that holding, and it's so seductive. It's so seductive, but for the woman who's doing it, it's absolutely exhausting. It's burnout central. Yeah, and I've been a sucker for that in my life. It's like, you know. Yeah. And working really hard to get in to be favourite. Really hard. Yeah. Can I do this for you? Can I get that for you? Yeah. I'll just sit here next to you. I mean, I just happen to be sitting here. Yeah. So we've got a little bit of time. Let's just go into some small groups, and I want you to just share your relationship to power, about your relationship to power from your little one, your protector style, and your whole woman. Yeah, and embedding all of that within masculine, feminine. What do you notice around how you claim your power in terms of healthy masculine, shadow masculine, healthy feminine, shadow feminine? How you work with that? What you notice already? What you know about how you hold space? Yeah. Okay, so just hop yourselves into groups of 3 or 4. Doesn't have to be an exact science. Yeah, there was a piece I remember wanting to bring you around, this relationship of what is my responsibility and what isn't my responsibility as a space holder, and how aware am I of the power that I have? You know, because if I'm not aware of the shadow that's at play, i.e. the current paradigm that we exist within is the facilitator has the power, and you all agree to collude and give me the power. Yeah? I'm the one who knows, I'm the one who gets to decide, I'm the one that commands everything, etc., etc. Even if I'm facilitating from the mother place or from the fawning place or whatever, it's like there will be a projection of power onto the person in this position because of the way our culture is. That's sort of what we do. That's the model that we've learned because we've been in this vertical axis of a model. So always looking for the person who's got the most authority and the most power. Yeah? And of course there's a shadow in that. It's like either we'll respond to that by colluding and going, all right, I agree, you've got the power, you know, and I'll hand myself over to whatever degree to you and give up my own knowing and my own authority. Or if I'm like, well, hang on a minute, I don't want this vertical axis, then, you know, you might bring that from a whole and healthy place, you know, in which case you probably don't need to say anything. You'll just quietly be like, actually, yeah, I'm sitting here just in my power just like anyone else. But if that's not an option, then your protector's going to come online, probably your warrior, and push against the power and poke and prod. And I mean, I've had that in groups for many years of you know, women and men, or men actually, it's quite full on when it's men, you know, trying to sort of undermine everything that I'm saying, or I say something and they go, oh yeah, well actually, you know, and I just want to tell you about herbalism because that's really great as well, you know, and sort of like if we're afraid of our power and we haven't fully stepped into our power and brought our unique gift, we may well project onto the person in this position all kinds of things. You know, if there's jealousy or competition and you feel like you haven't fully brought your gift, it's going to be painful potentially to see somebody comfortable in their gift. Yeah. So that could then play out in loads of ways, couldn't it? You could crumple and sort of, you know, feel all knotted up with it, or you could push back against it and kind of do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's like the more awareness I have of the wounds around power and the understanding of how power works, especially in this kind of setup, the less likely those things are going to happen, and the less likely I, as the facilitator, am going to get caught in those dynamics and in that Velcro. Yeah, like if I think back to my early years where I was like, you know, I really wasn't sure at all. I totally felt like I was just faking it and pretending and kind of doing as if, hoping that I'd convince people, you know. And if someone challenged me, I found it so hard because it was like they're right, you know. It was like I was just like, oh fuck, I've been caught out. I've been seen in my charlatanism, you know, and it was really, really painful, and I didn't know how to deal with that skillfully, but of course, because, you know, I wasn't aware of all of that stuff, yeah. So as a facilitator, we have a responsibility to really understand how power works in these when we're in leadership, whether it's in circle or whether it's at work or whatever the context. We need to have an understanding of how power works culturally, and then how we have taken on whatever wound we have around power. Yeah, how we've what we've learned about, you know, is power dangerous, is power good, is it something we should do, something we should shield away from, you know, we'll all have our particular relationship to that, yeah? And also, the person in this position as the facilitator, understanding what my responsibilities are, yeah? Like, where does my responsibilities begin and end? And I think I was talking about the difference between caring that someone's really hurting and feeling responsible for somebody really hurting. Yeah, and there's a difference. And the feeling responsible is the fawning, is the mother that just feels like she's got to sort of make everything all right for everybody, and that's absolutely exhausting, and you'll never achieve it. And of course, at the other end of that polarity is like, you know, irresponsible group facilitation. It's like, right, we're all going to take our clothes off, we're going to go to our core wounds, we're going to do some cathartic release, then we're going to have a nice naked cuddle puddle in the middle. Well, I mean, if you've got an issue with that, that's you know, I've said to you all, decide if you don't want to do something, and I said that at the beginning of the workshop, so if you didn't remember that and at any point you overrode yourself, well, quite frankly, you know, you've got to take some responsibility for that. You know, that would be the other end of the spectrum. And there's that kind of thing going on. You know, it's like it's not an uncommon thing to go to an intimacy, especially intimacy workshops, where the facilitator at the beginning might sort of offer a token gesture around boundaries and sort of say, look, you know, everything's a choice here, just please remember that as we go along, you know, there's nothing you have to do, but then you feel the peer pressure to kind of like, I can't step out, it's like I'll be singled out. Or we've gone into our fawn response and we don't even realise it. We don't even realise, I mean, we're moving into trauma work now, which we're going to do in the next module, but you know, and it's like, as the facilitator, how do I lay the ground and how do I stay with that the whole time and not assume, you know, not assume anything? Well, I mean, I assume you're all in your power, you know, and that you're all choosing, it's fine, so great. I don't need to consider anything or read or sense anything, yeah? So those are the two polarities, and it's like, you know, walking this middle path is really, it requires us to be really, really present at everything, you know, and go, where does my responsibility begin and end? Because if I'm over responsible and I'm like, well, I don't want anyone to do any, you know, it's like I probably won't bring anything that's that juicy because I'll be so kind of keeping it in the safety zone that nothing really happens and we all sit there feeling a bit bored, you know. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you know, it's just being a profoundly dangerous and unsafe space. Yeah. So the first step is for us to get really intimate with our relationship to power, you know, and to really know how it operates in us. If we're going to be facilitators in integrity, we've got to know what our power is. We've got to be able to not be afraid of it. Yeah, we've got to really get familiar with our power and be in it in order to hold space. Otherwise, you will just collapse, you know, or push, or get defensive, or armour up. You know, it's like, yeah, it's kind of how it's going to be. And for most of us as women, standing in our power has not been something that we've been celebrated in doing for, you know, thousands of years. You know, before we even get to being, you know, a woman of colour and, you know, other things culturally, minority groups. So we're not just dealing with our personal story around the imprint of our parents or the immediate upbringing of the culture we were in. We're dealing with 5,000 years of oppression, of women speaking up and standing in their power and being seen and being visible. So it's quite a lot to navigate, yeah? It's quite a lot to navigate.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's the difference between my power and my gift?
Well, you need your power to bring your gift.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you need your power to bring your gift. It's like, if I'm going to bring my gift, what are the parts of me that I need that can kind of carry that gift?
Okay, because
Yeah.
I think it's when you said, what is your power? I was like, oh, is it a specific thing or is it just like a...
No, what's your relationship to your power?
Oh, what's your relationship?
Yeah, what's your relationship to your
Right,
power? What do
fine,
you
that
know
makes a
about
bit
your
more sense.
power? How does it feel in your body? How does it move in you? What's the, what's your cognition around it? All the different ways,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that we be in our power. Does that make sense? Questions are helpful because then I might tap into other layers. Does that make sense? Yeah. But the biggest thing is the projection that will come towards you when you're sitting in this position. That's the thing that's really difficult to navigate. I mean, you might just notice it over these few days with me, like what are the projections that I mean, I'm doing everything I can to minimize projection by not going hierarchy, I'm the, but I mean, I'm sure I'm also failing hopelessly, it's like, it's the nature of the beast that if you have one person holding space and a circle of people or an office full of people, to some degree that is playing out. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having somebody saying, I'm going to guide us somewhere, like you've all been having a go at that with the movement. That's important, that we bring our gift and that we take turns in going, hey, here's my gift. Here's my way of doing it. But the shadow that comes in of how we give away our own knowing, our own authority, and actually I believe it's completely possible, and it's what what it's all about for me, is that we can all sit here feeling fully in our healthy power and still receive my guidance or my invitation to do whatever we're doing without that having to be the giving away of your own power. Yeah? That's, for me, that's what it's all about. And that if we're facilitating from the feminine and from that horizontal axis, that we sit in circle, and I'm sitting here and I'm with every single woman in this circle has something to bring. And actually, every single woman in this circle has a piece that I don't know about, has some wisdom, has some experience, has some understanding that I can't bring because I can't be the whole. I'm only one flower. I might have learned to be a few different flowers, but there's no way I can have all of the pieces. And that's, for me, the whole point of feminine leadership and why it's so exciting, is because it works on the power of the collective. Like say we're doing a piece of circle work and I'm maybe having a dialogue with a woman or guiding her in some way. And I'm only one voice reflecting something back to her, well, what I see is this. But, sometimes you see me do it. It's like, raise your hand if you also see, do you see this thing that I'm saying? And if people don't raise their hand, it's like, right, well, I'm totally off piece then, aren't I? But it's like, if you raise your hand, there's something about, I trust that. I really trust that. I'm not sitting here going, no. I definitely know, and you lot are all mistaken. It's like, I trust the power of the collective. And that is the feminine. That is the feminine, that we all bring a piece. In any given moment, we can tap in and bring a part of a whole. I don't want to sit here knowing everything. That would just be exhausting. Be absolutely exhausting. Does that cover it?